All right, hello everybody. I am Lisa from Amicus, and today I'm joined by Jeremy from ICAS, Susie from Xylo Accountants, and Callum also from Amicus. And we thought we'd get together today to talk about the idea of building a portable accountancy firm and everything that might be involved in that from a practical perspective, and also talk a little bit about what the new normal looks like and how we might move towards that. So first of all, I just wanted to get you guys to introduce yourself, if that's okay. So Susie, I'll come to you first of all. If you just, in one or two sentences, just tell us a bit about what Xylo Accountants do.
So Xylo Accountants provide bookkeeping, payroll, corporation tax, VAT, all the standard accountancy practice services to small businesses and startups. We are very cloud-based, so yes, this topic is very close to our hearts, and happy to share our insights on how we operate.
Fantastic. And Jeremy, could you tell us a bit about ICAS, please?
Yep, ICAS is an accountancy professional body. We've got 22,000 members throughout the world, most of them in Scotland and England and Wales. And my job is to deal with those members who are in practice, and I spend a lot of time talking to them just about how they're getting on, especially now, the problems they're facing, how they're coping with the current crisis, and yeah, it's an interesting time for them.
Thank you very much. And Callum, could you tell us briefly what it is Amicus does?
Yeah, we're a software company, and we help people get to work on what matters faster, whether that be client intake and compliance or staff vetting and onboarding.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'm going to come around to each of you just with a few questions on this topic. Susie, I'm going to come to you first of all. So it kind of seems like Xylo Accountants were super well prepared for this, in the sense that you've been operating as a cloud-based organisation for some time. And so, you know, obviously going into lockdown didn't massively impact your business in terms of your operations. And it's allowed you to kind of stay open for business quite cleanly, which is great. So I just thought perhaps we could start with, on the more practical side, about some of the tools and software that you're using to stay open for business right now.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of accounting software, we use the standard kind of softwares, Xero, Zoho, and ClearBooks. I actually used to work for ClearBooks, which is why I'm so familiar with cloud accounting, and which is how I started the practice, and just felt that was the way accounting is going, and that's where we wanted to be. In how we're managing the practice, we use Accountancy Manager. So all of our tasks and deadlines for accounts and like VAT, payroll, that's all on our software. And we can easily assign the task to different members of staff. So it's quite easy to manage and see what people are working on. We also use Slack for internal communication. So we have a channel for each of our clients where we can record whenever we're doing stuff or talking about something. So if like we were having a conversation in the office, it's just kind of recorded in Slack. So it's good to look back on that to remember what was happening. And also obviously use Amicus. That's been great in the lockdown, because we actually had 2 clients come on last week, and I could just email them the link to request their documents. And as Callum says, the onboarding is really efficient. So yeah, I think those are the main tools we use. Our tax software is Tax Filer, again, cloud-based. We're meeting clients on Google Hangouts. So we're doing weekly Google Hangout sessions for our clients, which I think is really important, just because I want to be like interact with them, not just on emails and things. So it's really nice to see people's faces like once a week. And I think they actually really appreciate it, because you get to talk about business and like see different people to just the people that are in your house. So yeah, we're really not enjoying it, but just going.
Yeah, well, it's great that it sounds like you're perhaps finding more time as well to spend sort of not face to face in person, but speaking to clients, which is obviously a really key part of building those relationships. And
even it's some of the clients that we wouldn't hear from as regularly, that we're
absolutely
talking to more, which is great, because hopefully when we're out of this, people will get used to being in good contact with us.
Yeah.
Another software, that we use is Receipt Bank, which is obviously collecting the receipts at this time is key. And I know a lot of accountancy practices are struggling with that if they normally physically receive the receipt. So I think that's just a great tool that accountancy firms could use now. And obviously you have the excuse for your clients that like, we need to use this because we can't physically get the receipt. So I think it's a great time to transition to digital as well for other practices.
Brilliant.
I read an interesting article this morning from America, actually, some research that they did last week. And it showed that practices that used just one online service and had their processes built around, and were used to doing that, were coping far better than people that weren't online at all. So I think it's interesting, even if you take one step and go down that road now, it'll set you up well for the future for becoming more online. The ones that are really struggling at the minute had no online sort of processes at all, and I think that's quite interesting. It didn't matter what it was. As long as you did something completely online, then the transition onto doing a lot more online was much easier to make for staff. So that's quite interesting, I thought.
Definitely, and very achievable for people. If they, just embracing one online tool it's not a massive ask. And probably overwhelming to consider for some businesses to consider setting up in the way that Xyler accountants have. Right now would probably feel quite overwhelming, but knowing that we're potentially moving into a new way of working for the foreseeable, if they can just embrace one online tool, that would clearly send them in the right direction.
I think that's true as well, because we didn't have like our Slack channel, for example. So we weren't fully, when we built the business, we were like looking for what's best and how best to operate. And even with Slack, we've also added like a client community channel. They have a separate one. So, and with COVID, we've really got people to adopt that, because I actually set it up sometime last year and people weren't interested. But now people want to go on it because that's where we share our information. So you can see people are adopting to other digital methods.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Susie. Jeremy, I wanted to come to you a little just to talk about some of the rules and regulations, which is not the sexiest of topics, but it's very important right now. And obviously, there are a lot of areas of industry and business that are relaxing their rules somewhat, making life a little bit easier for people by saying, oh, don't worry about doing that thing right now. And from the conversations I've had with yourself, it seems that's not the case for accountancy firms. And I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, for clients, actually, some of the rules have been relaxed. You can get a 3-month deferral for your accounts. You can not pay your VAT this quarter. You not pay your PAYE, although you still have to do a lot of the filings for taxes, which is interesting. So you don't actually have to cough up for it, but you do still have to let the revenue know how much you owe them. But the one area which it's been abundantly clear, it's really been made very obvious to us, is that in terms of money laundering, which obviously you guys are heavily involved in, there is no room for slacking up at all. OPBAS, who are our regulators, the Office of Professional Body AML Supervisors, and NATIB acronym, they have been absolutely clear that it's business as usual, and that's the message that we're having to put out to firms as well. The only concession they have made is that if you have a new BOOM, which is a business owner, officer or manager, in Scotland, you don't have to do the criminality check. And that's purely because Disclosure Scotland have essentially shut down for new business. But if you're in England and Wales, you still have to do the criminality check. But other than that, it's absolutely business as usual for money laundering. And in fact, we're getting a lot of messages through from various sources saying that you probably have to be more aware at the minute, because especially the likes of the job retention scheme grants and whatever, criminals are actually using them and using accountants to do fraud. So it's a huge area that the National Crime, turn my microphone off there, that's not clever. The National Crime Agency are seeing a huge spike in online fraud, because of COVID.
Yeah.
So you can't let your guard down at all.
That's good to know. Thank you very much for that, Jeremy. Callum, I just wanted to come to you to talk a little bit more about this, the idea of the new normal, and Susie and Jeremy, feel free to chip in on this as well. But Callum, if you could just tell us a little bit how you imagine the new normal, or what you imagine the new normal will look like for accountancy firms once this is all over.
I would likely come best at this from the client perspective as to what the client's expectations are and what they've got used to in being in this lockdown scenario. So doing things digitally in the way that Susie discussed is something that we take for granted, and we've been in the fortunate position to work like that for quite a while. But from a client's point of view, the idea that they could jump onto a Slack channel and chat to Susie, or they could have a video call and have a discussion about something, is more likely convenient for them in their business, and it's going to save them time. They're not going to be taking time out. There's no getting away from having a face-to-face meeting, and that's still something that is evidently really valuable, and you do want to go and visit a trusted advisor, and that face-to-face isn't going to go away. But there are elements of the work which are more process-driven, or from a compliance point of view, that typically taking the day off to go and take your documents in to see your accountant, that's not something that you'd really want to be doing. And realising that you can do these things digitally means that it's far more likely that the client's expectations are going to increase. So we've seen in the past examples through financial services where you could go off and open up a bank account in the same day, and the expectation of, well, why can't I do the same to go and engage with my accountant? So I think one of the things that's likely going to happen is the expectations of the client or the consumer is going to increase to expect the accountant to do things digitally and do things in a way that's going to give them a good quality process or a good experience as to how they actually handle things, and doing things securely. I think it's another area that's going to be front of everyone's mind. Knowing that you're doing things digitally, you're not going to necessarily be asked to send stuff in an unencrypted or just a straightforward normal email, send your passport to someone. I think that's evidently people are going to be thinking about online fraud, and I think those would probably be the key things to be thinking about. What does the client want, and how are you going to differentiate yourself from others when things have changed, things have kind of moved on a bit.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Jeremy, did you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's absolutely right. Clients are going to get used to operating in a different way over the next however long it is. And I think if the accountants that are best placed to go with that and to accommodate that are going to do a lot better than the ones that aren't. I've had a couple of interesting discussions with firms over the last few weeks, and the two things that are clear from running an accountancy practice point of view are that the old myth that staff had to be in the office to do the is definitely did it again. I have to stop pressing it. It's definitely, people can work from home, and they can actually work reasonably efficiently at home if you've got the right tools. And of course, it is a matter of getting the right tools. But I think we're going to see a bit of a change in that going forward, because the argument doesn't really exist anymore that working at home doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the second one is people are beginning to question why they are spending a lot of money, sometimes 10-15% of their fee income on premises, especially in the centre of big cities. It's 20-30 pounds a square foot, and they're saying, well, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I'm not saying offices will go all together, because people will still need meeting spaces. People will still want to come in and talk to each other and be around each other, but probably not all at the same time. So hot desking, I think, will become a thing of much more common, and just having drop-in places where you book your space and come and meet clients or meet each other, rather than just going in and that is where you do your work. And of course, with that, there's all sorts of issues, because Callum's absolutely right. Your data security's got to be a lot better if your information isn't all in one place. You know, GDPR from all different points of view, and data protection. You know, online's actually becoming far more secure than traipsing things around in the old pilot cases that guys my age used to use. You know, that's actually a much less secure way of doing it now than online with encryption, whatever. So I think there will be a huge change, you know, coming out the other side.
Absolutely, I think that can only be, you know, a hugely positive thing. It's going to impact the way that we do business significantly for better, I think. Susie, did you have any you know, additional thoughts on that, on the new normal that you wanted to share?
No, but I just think also one of our motivations was like the environmental piece, because when I worked in a bigger accounting firm, it's good to see like the amount of waste there was in all the paper that was printed, and like now it's just so unnecessary. There's just so many tools out there that you don't need to print anything really. I mean, we only print stuff like community interest company accounts you have to send to HMRC physically, and sometimes if you want to write a letter to HMRC you have to print stuff, but we literally keep it minimal. So all our working papers are on cloud. We share them with clients if they want any backup things. And I just think if every business worked like that, how much better would the environment be? Especially if people aren't traveling into work as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Save on travel emissions, just so much scope for improvement.
Definitely.
I do miss, I mean, we do have an office in a co-working space, so I do miss those human interactions, which I don't think we can ever fully replace that with technology. And I am looking forward to like going to the office in the future. But yeah, I think for now we can operate as normal and under the circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely missing Callum's dog, Harris.
He's here. He has been wandering around. No sight is just below where the camera is, but I think we're the same. That we do have an element of our team who've always been remote, and that's been very simple for the transition, like you, Susie. But in the office, like we're just in the process of moving office, and we're, you know, it would be nice, like it would be good to be back, but for some of the time, and for some people, it's not ever 100% of people 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there so that we don't rattle on for too long. But thank you very much for participating. And, you know, I hope that there are some accountancy firms out there that find this useful and perhaps some food for thought. It's certainly been interesting for me to discuss with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Stay safe.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.